Maybe
And I don't know what if Whitney's got the same sort of rubbish collection thing as we do in Abingdon, so I don't know, Harry. Hopefully your mum should know.
Cool.
I'm not entirely sure.
Oh, I don't know what you should do with your old one, because I don't know. You can't. I don't know if you're supposed to throw like discs in the bin.
All right, I think we are running everywhere we need to be running.
I don't know what if Whitney's got the same sort of.
It's Sharing Sunday.
Rubbish collection thing as we do in Abingdon, so I don't know, Harry.
No, we've been on for 7
Hopefully your
weeks.
mum should know.
Confused me earlier when I typed in number 6.
Because I'm not entirely sure.
It's been 7 weeks. What have I got with me? It's got a giraffe.
Alright, I think we are running everywhere we need to be running so far.
Horace.
So yes, welcome everyone. It's Sharing Sunday.
Horace. It's Horace the giraffe.
Sharing Sunday number 6, even though we've been on for 7 weeks.
I've got a panda.
Confused me earlier when I typed in number 6 into the title. I was like, but hang on, it's been 7 weeks. What have I got with me? It's got a giraffe.
The Lion King 2019 is on BBC One.
Did we name this giraffe?
Guess what? We watched it on
Horace. It's Horace.
Thursday evening.
Horace. It's Horace the giraffe, of course.
Okay.
And I've got a panda.
It's amazing how real they all look.
And
that was my main takeaway.
there's an elephant somewhere.
I had a takeaway when I watched it. Oh, so that was my real main takeaway.
Lion King 2019 is on
Guys, we're having
BBC
fun
One
already.
tonight. Guess what? We watched it on
I am a bit tired and stuff.
Thursday
That's
evening.
That's when it starts getting crazy on here.
Okay.
Who knows what nonsense will come out my mouth.
It's amazing how real they all look.
Yes, we've had
that was my main
busy
takeaway.
week, but this week I seem to have less.
I had a
shows
takeaway
than usual.
when I watched it. Oh, so that was
So,
my real main takeaway. Guys, we're having fun
There's no
already.
need to rush. We can take our.
I feel like when I am a bit tired and
sweet
stuff,
time.
that's when it starts getting crazy on
Show
here.
you some photos. Talk a bit
Who
about
knows
tomorrow.
what nonsense will come out my mouth.
All
Alright, so, yes, we've had a busy week, but this week I seem to have less photos than usual. So, there's no need to rush. We can take our sweet, sweet time.
New Call of Duty game yesterday.
So I'll show you some photos, talk a bit about tomorrow, and then we're going to choose a new book. Hi, Sophia.
Week tomorrow.
I've got one video to show you as well today.
Should I go for one we've
Someone
already
doing a
prepared,
science
or do we go for
experiment.
something new?
So that's cool.
I don't know.
And that's pretty much the plan.
Right then. Let's
Did
have
you
look
brought a
what
new
the
Call of
plans
Duty
are,
game yesterday?
Shall we?
Cool.
Oh, jump the gun.
Cool.
There he is.
I need to think what game we'll do for our next
So,
gaming stream,
on
which will be a week
Friday,
tomorrow.
I sent out a
Do I go for one we've already played, or do we go for
activity.
something new?
For VE
I don't
Day,
know.
because a lot of people were supposed to be having street parties in their house or in their gardens.
Right then,
VE
let's have a
Day.
look what you clowns have been up to,
Classic
shall
thing
we?
to have at that kind of event is some.
Whoa,
Now, here's
jump the gun. There
I
he is.
say
Alright,
scone.
so
You might say scone.
on Friday,
I guess scone.
I
is
sent
that
out
Is that correct? I don't know.
activity
So Alex.
for VE
Alex
Day,
made these
because a lot of people were
fantastic
supposed to be having
really
street
tasty.
parties in their house
Well done,
or in their
Alex.
gardens for
Ethan.
VE Day.
Also
And one of the classic things to have at that kind of event is some. Now, here's the thing. I say scones.
Party.
You might say scones.
Outside in their garden.
I guess
What a
scone
lovely
makes me a bit
spread.
posher. What's
It's like
that?
a great picnic.
Is
And
that
you can see
correct?
They've got some jam. They've got
I
some
don't know.
cream.
Anyway, so
all the
Alex
classics.
made these fantastic scones, and they look really tasty.
Ethan making.
So well done, Alex. Ethan also made some
His,
scones,
cutter to make them round.
and he had them at
And
his
then here we have George.
VE Day party. There they
He's
are,
got,
outside in their garden.
Union Jack.
What a lovely spread.
Scone
Looks like a
case.
great picnic,
And
and you
he's
can see
wearing
you've
an
got some
England
jam,
rugby
they've got
shirt.
some cream,
Um,
all the
You're wearing
classics.
a Welsh one, George.
And here is Ethan
And
making
in our baking section, we have
his
James
scones
who's finally got
using
around
his
to making
cutter to
his
make them
flapjacks.
round.
He's wanted to make these flapjacks.
And
ever
then
since
here
I,
we have George,
sent out the
who's
ingredients,
got
but he's never
a
been able to
Union
get hold of the
Jack
things to make them until now.
scone
So very
case. And he's wearing an England rugby
Decisive
top.
James.
Should be wearing a Welsh one,
So we
George.
finally made them. So they look fantastic.
And lastly, in our baking section,
apricots as well, which was a really nice choice.
we have James, who's finally got around to making these flapjacks. He's wanted to make these flapjacks ever since I sent out the ingredients, but he's never been able to get hold of the things to make them until now. So I got
a
very
lot of bangers.
excited
I've got, which is weird
James
when I wore that
email today. So we finally made them.
Sweaty,
So they look fantastic, and use raisins and use apricots as well, which was a really nice choice. Nice bit of apricot in your flapjack.
Liverpool. Correct me if I'm wrong, George.
And then we'll do this one as well.
So
yesterday we had a pajama party disco. A lot of bangers. Possibly the sweatiest I've got, which is weird considering when I wore that Cookie Monster costume, I should have been more sweaty, but no. But here's George and his combination of Star Wars and Liverpool Football Club.
Casey had those self-raising.
I think it was Liverpool. Correct me if I'm wrong, George.
Trying to see both.
Trousers.
Hi, Lloyd.
So covering all bases is what his mum said.
George says hi.
For all the things he
Remember,
likes.
guys, if you've got a friend here,
so yeah, I hope everyone else enjoyed the disco yesterday
and say hello to.
Popped your pajamas on.
It in the comments, and I'll read it out in the video, and hopefully they'll see it at some point. Hi, Alex. And
Casey had no self-raising flour to make the scones. Scones. Trying to see both. Hi, Lloyd. Joyce says hi, Ethan. Yeah, remember, guys, if you've got a friend here, you see, say hello, or if you have a friend you want me to say hello to from you, just say it in the comments, and I'll read it out in the video, and hopefully they'll see it at some point. Hi, Alex.
So up next, I've got one picture of some leaves.
Harry just says he's yawning. I know that feeling. You should
have a look at some of your
about 2 seconds before I pressed the live button, I did a huge yawn.
A lot of bacon.
Sorry.
A lot of bacon.
Sip of my water. That's right. Thank goodness.
Right.
All right.
There you are.
So up next, I've got one picture of some leaves.
And I liked on this picture.
And then we're going to have a look at some of your news from this week, which involves a lot of bacon.
This leaf here, so I wonder if caterpillars.
A lot of bacon indeed.
See these tiny little holes. Almost looks like someone's been sewing, and it's gone like in and out, in and out, in and out. Line dots, it's gone like up and down, up and down.
There you are.
So well done, Ethan.
All right, so Ethan found lots of different leaves. And I liked on this picture, if you look really closely, you can see some little holes in this this leaf here. So I wonder if a caterpillar or something's been eating at it. See these tiny little holes. Almost looks like someone's been sewing, and it's gone like in and out, in and out, in and out. Look at the lines it's gone, so it's gone like up and down, up and down. So well done, Ethan. So both Ethan and Sophia, I think, found the most leaves. We didn't have many people doing the leaves this week, but I haven't been the best at reminding people about it.
Here's the final
result.
Look at that cake.
And sticking with Ethan, so Ethan didn't just make scones this week, he also made
Ethan on your baking.
What I think is a Victoria sponge for his schools.
He's been gardening as well. This is him digging for some courgettes.
Virtual tea morning. Tea morning, yeah. And
with the I can't remember if you were planting them or if you were digging them up.
Putting some stuff into the mixer.
I made a cake with courgette.
And here's the final result. Look at that cake. It looks delicious.
I don't know.
So well done, Ethan, on your baking.
So we saw
and he's been a busy man. He's not just been baking. He's been gardening as well. This is him digging for some courgettes. So
and that was for their VE Day party in their garden.
If they are, I can't remember if you were planting them or if you were digging them up. But I made a cake with courgette once. A chocolate cake with courgette. So maybe that's something you could use for your courgettes for. I don't know.
Yeah, here they are outside enjoying the sunshine.
Now we're going to go back to George. So we saw he
garden pies.
Made scones earlier. Scones.
Up next we got Hannah. And Hannah was doing some
and that was for their VE Day party in their garden. He also made... Ooh.
Up next we've got
I believe Jenny. He made something else.
I don't have busy bee, as always.
I didn't write that down. Oh, silly me.
Decorating the jar.
Yeah, here they are outside enjoying the sunshine in the garden. We had great weather for the garden parties, didn't we, everyone?
Some special paints.
Up next we got Hannah. And Hannah was doing some gymnastics in her house.
Had a VE Day party, and you can see they've got some scones there. I think
up next we've got
I'm not 100%.
Jenny. Jenny's been a busy bee as always. So Jenny decorating this jar. You can see she's drawn some hearts on it. She's done some writing on it.
Up next we've got Lee, who made some.
Looks like they were using some special paints.
They look great. I don't know.
It looks really cool.
They look really cool. I don't know if you've got a special cutter, but it looks like this.
Jenny has also had a VE Day party, and you can see they've got some scones there. I think they made our recipe, but I'm not 100%.
From Lee to Leo.
Yeah.
Who's been blowing a lot.
Looks like you had. Look at that cream. That looks like a really good cream. Nice one.
This week.
Up next, we've got Lee, who made some Children in Need biscuits. They look great. So I don't know how you did that, Lee. They look really cool. I don't know if you've got a special cutter, but it looks like it's even got a little face.
Lloyd, who we can always
it's got nose and eyes, so that's really impressive.
Colouring, and
so great work, Lee.
Of his favourite football
From
team,
Lee to Leo,
Manchester
who's
United.
been blowing a lot of
bright colours.
dandelion clocks.
Always great colouring from Lloyd. So well done, Lloyd.
So I don't know the final total, but
see how you're all doing.
The word was a lot. So I think he's been.
I can't see what you're all saying.
A busy man. Next up, we've got Lloyd, who we can always rely on for some fantastic colouring, and he's done the colouring of his favourite football team, Manchester United. And always he's used really bright colours, which is always really cool.
Come when you come, even if
always
it's
great colouring from Lloyd. So well done, Lloyd.
So
let's see how you're all doing. The thing is, when I'm going through the pictures, I can't see what you're all saying. It was chocolate chip fairy cakes. That was it.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, don't worry about being late. Remember, being late isn't a problem on the streams, Lloyd.
Don't worry.
So you don't need to worry about it. You just come when you come. Even if it's finished, you can still watch it back afterwards.
You get here when you get here. So
there's no such thing as late. The only thing you can be is early.
Like a Sunday morning.
I don't know what you would do if you were early. You just stare at a screen for a while until something happened.
A relevant John Legend reference.
Yeah, cool. Hey, James Bond, just like I was saying, there is no such thing as late. Don't worry.
Let's just get straight to it.
Don't you worry about it. You get here when you get here. It's Sunday.
Last
easy.
Week,
like a Sunday morning.
Recreational challenge.
It's the afternoon now, isn't it?
Recreate one of your favourite
so that's irrelevant. A relevant John Legend
I got a late one
reference,
in from Tom,
if there is such a thing.
Who did a fantastic Taylor Swift.
Right, I can't remember what's next, so let's just get straight to it and see what it is.
Taylor Swift, so you can see the hair and the skin.
Ah, yes.
Looks like he's
so
painted them as well.
Last week,
so it's almost like he's made a collage.
I set a recreational challenge to create one of your recreate one of your favourite singers or musicians. And I got a late one in from Tom, who did a fantastic Taylor Swift.
Wednesday.
And Tom used lots of different materials, he said, to make this Taylor Swift. So you can see the hair and the skin. Looks like he's painted them as well. So it's almost like he's made a collage.
Ethan, and he made his rocket, and his mum told me that they had great success.
Taylor Swift. I nearly said Nicki Minaj then, just because it would rhyme, but that's not correct.
Here, it was probably the only one that truly worked.
Wednesday! What did we do on Wednesday? We did some science.
Other people had success.
Did anyone try and make the ice cream, by the way? No one said they did. I wonder if anyone tried it.
And that was Sophia. Look at that.
So here's Ethan, and he made his rocket, and his mum told me that they had great success with their rocket.
That's really impressive.
Probably here was probably the only one that truly worked. So I'm glad you had success with that. But I can see that other people had success blowing up a balloon using yeast And that was Sophia. Look at that.
So
that's pretty well inflated, actually, for just some yeast. For not someone blowing into it.
Oh.
That's really impressive. And she also had great success.
So yeah, that was really cool.
With her rocket balloon. Guys, guess what? We can actually see Sophia's rocket balloon take off. Are we all ready to see it?
As far as I'm aware, the sound should
Here it comes. Let's go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, yes!
And here's Sophia making her exploding.
So yeah, that was really cool. Well done, Sophia. It's always nice to get a video of someone's experiment or whatever they do. So remember, I can show them on here. So as far as I'm aware, the sound should have worked. Let me just see what you guys are saying.
Guess what? This is.
No one's saying there was no sound, so I'm assuming we're all good.
Only photo I've only got one photo left. Like I said earlier, we haven't had many photos.
And here's Sophia making her exploding
gave our
lunch bag.
Recreating a famous,
another one which we didn't have much
favourite holiday
success with.
So we didn't get any photos of that. I haven't really been great at reminding people about sending photos this week either. So,
guys, guess what? This is the only photo I've got. I've only got one photo left. Today. Like I said earlier, we haven't had many photos this week. Don't think anyone really gave our recreating recreating a favourite holiday photo a go. So we didn't get any photos of that. I haven't really been great at reminding people about sending photos this week either. So there we go.
It's simply because of the big smile she has. That is Jennifer Tyler.
Not too many photos to show you today.
She just looks incredibly happy.
I've only got one more photo,
which is just a really nice
and that's our photo of the week.
Really nice.
And we already saw this post a little bit earlier, and I was stuck between a couple of her photos to choose from.
Looks like she's drawing a really cool picture.
But our photo of the week, or this week, is simply because of the big smile she has, and that is Miss Jennifer Tyler.
So that's all our pictures for today.
She just looks incredibly happy, just having a good time.
That's gotta be
which is just a really nice thing to see, and
first,
really nice email to open up is just seeing Jenny's big smiling face.
So I need to tell you about.
So that's our photo of the week this week. So well done to Jenny. It looks like she's drawing a really cool picture as well.
She's asleep. She's sleeping.
Okay.
Flat out today.
So that's all our pictures for today. We're only 20 minutes in. That's gotta be a first. Gotta be a first, I reckon. But you know,
kind of noise.
How it goes. So I need to tell you about. I need to tell you about. Is my cat here?
Let's see what's happening. Oh, Lloyd. The thing is, now you've sent a message.
She's asleep.
On, YouTube has just.
She's sleeping. She's.
I know it just says sorry.
Flat out today. When I saw her earlier on, she was like,
"Yeah, gotta be mindful."
I mean, if cats could snore,
send me messages whilst we've got a stream on. Because
she just sometimes have like a weird kind of noise when she's sleeping.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tell you about tomorrow.
I see what's happening. Oh, Lloyd. The thing is, now you've sent a message. Everyone on YouTube has just seen that message. So, I know it just says sorry you're late.
Scruffy was snoring earlier on.
Yeah, gotta be mindful. Try not to send me messages whilst we've got a stream on. Because everyone
so tomorrow
watching on YouTube will see it.
50.
So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tell you about tomorrow.
Home activities. It's not quite day 50
a big stretch.
Down. I think that was literally one day later. So us doing home-based stuff.
So, Scruffy was snoring earlier on.
Streams we've done, but
that's classic Scruffy.
I reckon it's gotta be
Scruffy.
Maybe 40.
Yeah, so tomorrow is
35
day 50 of our home activities, Yellow Submarine's home activities.
Yeah, tomorrow.
It's not quite day 50 of lockdown. I think that was literally one day later, but it's day 50 of us doing home-based stuff.
All coped with. You know, everything.
I haven't done the maths on how many streams we've done.
Really well.
I reckon it's got to be.
And you all, I think,
maybe 40.
Celebrate
somewhere between 35 and 40.
You've been really strong and you've been really brave. And You should be very proud of yourselves for how
So yeah, tomorrow I want to celebrate all of you because you guys have been.
So we're gonna.
You've all coped with everything that's going on with, as far as I can tell, really well.
You don't have a tent,
and you
just
all,
make one.
I think,
So
should celebrate the fact that you've been really strong and you've been really brave.
And 3 o'clock, as always,
you should be very proud of yourselves for how you've coped over the last 7 weeks. So well done, everyone.
Zoom meeting. So if you want to be a part of the Zoom
we're going to just put up our tents. So the idea is you're going to put up your tent, and then on Monday night you'll sleep in your tent. If you don't have a tent, just make one. So you can just use some string and some sheets, make like a den. Maybe you can sleep in there. And at 3 o'clock, as always, we're going to have a live stream. But this live stream is also going to be a Zoom meeting. So if you want to be a part of the Zoom meeting, just email me, jack@yellowsubmarine.org.uk, or ask your mum or dad or whoever looks after you to send me an email if they're happy for you to be in the Zoom call meeting. So if you do that, you'll not just be in the Zoom meeting, you'll also be on the screen on
skills, or maybe George might want to show us some of his cricket skills or some drumming. There's loads. Whatever you feel is something you are really good at. We all want to see it, and we all want to remind you how great you are at doing that thing. So we're all going to be really supportive of everyone. We'll also toast some marshmallows over candles. So if you have tea lights and you are able to get hold of some marshmallows and a skewer, then we'll also do that. And we'll probably do some campfire songs, and hopefully we'll have a couple of other surprises. And I'll also show everyone our choir video. So that's the plan for tomorrow. So yeah, if you would like to be involved, like I say, just send an email to jack@yellowsubmarine.org.uk. It looks like YouTube is having a bit of a nightmare. Come on, YouTube. Spinning around. Spinning around. Oh dear. How long will it go on for? Good question, Eric. Good lad. Wow. How long will it go on for? Great question. It depends, I guess, how many people we have playing. They're playing, showing us their talents. Oh, I reckon somewhere between an hour and 2 hours.
How long will it go on for? Good question, Eric. Good lad. Wow. How long will it go on for? Great question.
I think you might be coming.
It depends, I guess, how many people we have playing. They're playing, showing us their talents. I reckon somewhere between an hour and 2 hours.
Could even be longer. I don't know.
Oh. Why won't you work?
So if you do email me, I'll be sending out the Zoom links tomorrow. I'm sure there's a few people wondering, but I've been so focused on trying.
Yeah, I reckon somewhere between an hour and 2. Somewhere between an hour and 2 hours. Could even be longer. I don't know.
Yeah, cool. Zeem and Adil are on FIFA right now. And it's Liverpool.
So if you do email me, I'll be sending out the Zoom links tomorrow. I'm sure there's a few people wondering, but I've been so focused on trying to put the choir video together. I haven't really been answering emails over the last day or so.
Squad. Gang. Man.
Yeah. Cool.
I'm gonna Get
Zim
Instagram in the
and
house.
Adil are on
We're gonna choose a
FIFA
new
right
book
now.
to read.
And it's Liverpool 7, Arsenal
Just getting on it,
6.
'cause I've got nothing else to share with you today. It's a quick one. I'm gonna be honest, I don't mind that so much because I've still got.
Harry's
a lot
watching
of
Only
video
Fools and
editing to get on
Horses.
with.
Goodness me. Right, so.
Mind. But there you go.
Squad.
Right, shall we get into
Gang. Mandem. I'm gonna get Instagram in the house. We're gonna choose a new book to read. And we're just gonna get on with it because I've got nothing else to share with you today. It's a quick one.
3 different
I
options here.
don't mind that so much because I've still got a lot of video editing to get on
I
with.
have in my house.
I
So
might lose my mind.
Oh, these books aren't really books. Are
But
they?
there you go. Right, shall we get
A bit
Instagram
limited when it comes to that.
here to join in the fun?
Right then,
And we'll pick
ladies and
a
gentlemen.
book.
Hello, Instagram.
To read.
Joining
We've got
everyone
3
else. We've
different
already got
options
Facebook
here.
and YouTube.
Now I have to say, when it comes to the
Session,
books,
we've been hanging out for
we're just
about
limited to what I have in my house.
27
So
minutes.
sorry if you're a bit like, oh, these books aren't really
we're
books
about
I'm
to vote
interested in.
on our
A
new
bit
book
limited where it comes to that.
for story
Um,
time, which always happens after our sharing Sunday. Now
There we go.
we've got 3 to choose from. 3, I'd say.
Right
quite
then,
different books.
ladies and
Quite
gentlemen.
different books.
Hello,
So what I'm
Instagram.
gonna do,
You're
I'm gonna
joining
tell you
everyone
about
else.
each
We've
book.
already got Facebook and
Then,
YouTube
what you'll
watching.
do,
We've been
we'll
hanging
press
out for
the
like
like button, kind of
27 minutes. Where you been?
thing, so we can see
We're about to vote
which book we're going to read.
on our new book for story time,
our
which always
3
happens after our
different
sharing
books
Sunday.
are. We have
Now
this one. This
we've
is
got
called
3
the
to choose
Invisible-
from.
This is kind of
Well,
2
I'd say
stories.
maybe quite
They're
different
both
books.
Moomin stories. So this is
Quite different
Moomins.
books.
and
So
there's
what
a
I'm going to
story called
do
The Invisible
is I'm going
Child
to tell you about each
and a
book.
story called The Fur
and then
Tree, and they're both Moomin stories.
What you'll do, we'll do a press the like button kind of thing,
Shall read you
so we can see which book we're going to read. Okay.
the little description.
So
Into
our 3 different
Tove
books
Janssens.
are.
Much
We
Love
have
short
this one.
story,
This is called the
Invisible Child.
well. This is kind of 2
Isolated,
stories, but they're both Moomin stories. So this is
Ninny.
Moomins, and there's a
Isolated
story called The
Ninny,
Invisible
Destiny.
Child,
Has helped to
and
regain
a story
her
called The
voice
Fir
to
Tree, and they're
take
both
her
Moomin
rightful place
stories.
in the world using a simple Moomin recipe.
Shall
She's
read
welcomed
you
into the Moomin family and treated with equality and respect. This is one of the,
The
most
little
touching
description.
of all Moomin stories.
Uh,
It's paired with the
Into
The Fir
Janssens,
Tree.
Tove Janssens,
Gloriously
Much
unselfish
Love short
on
story, The
Christmas.
Invisible Child, The
There's a
Isolated,
Christmas story in there.
oh, can relate, Ninny,
Um,
Isolated
to be honest,
Ninny,
kind of
definitely
gave
can
away the
relate.
end of the
Has
story.
helped to
Hi,
regain
Jessel,
her
how's it going?
voice and take her rightful
up
place in the
next,
world using a simple
There's the
Moomin
Twits
recipe.
by
She's
Roald
welcomed
Dahl.
into the Moomin family and treated
Always
with
gonna be in
equality
there.
and
Leo
respect.
likes the Twits.
This is one of the most
Always gonna
touching
be
of
an
all
option.
Moomin stories and is paired
And
with, in this
here
unibit
It
with
says,
The
Mr.
Fir
and
Tree,
Mrs. Twits
the Moomin's
are
gloriously
really disgusted.
unselfish take on
They
Christmas.
smell because they never wash.
Oh, there's a Christmas story
they fight
in there.
because they play tricks on each other and they hate children.
Gotta be honest,
Worst of
it
all,
kind of
they
gave
keep
away the end
monkeys
of the
in
story.
their
Hi
backyard.
Jessel, how's it going?
Cages. It's time for the
Up
monkeys
next,
to get their revenge on these 2
there's The
revolting
Twits
creatures. So that's the Twits
by Roald Dahl. Always going to be in there because Leo
And lastly is
likes
this
the Twits,
beast.
so it's always
Look
going
at
to
this
be an option.
monster.
And here
500 pages.
it says Mr. and Mrs. Twit
This bad boy
are really
right
disgusting.
here.
They
This is
smell because they
swallows
never
and
wash.
Amazons.
They fight because they play
So
tricks
this
on
is
each
what
other,
we'd read
and
in
they
quite
hate
a few,
children.
I imagine.
But worst of all, they keep monkeys in
So
their
there's
back
lots of
garden.
pages, but the
In
writing's quite
cages.
big and there's
It's
pictures
time for the
and
monkeys
so
to get their revenge on these 2
makes it
revolting
seem
creatures.
longer
So
than
that's
it
The
is.
Twits by Roald Dahl.
It'll still take us a while to read it, I reckon.
And lastly is
So
this
swallows
beast.
and
Look at this
Amazons.
monster.
The Walker
500
Children,
pages.
also known as Captain John,
This bad boy.
Miss Susan,
Right here.
Able
This
Seaman
is Swallows and
and Ship's Boy
Amazons.
Roger.
So this is one
Sail
we'd
on
read
the
over
Swallow,
quite a few
head
weeks,
for
I
Wild
imagine.
Cat Island. They camp under
So there's
open
lots of
skies,
pages, but the
swim
writing's
in
quite
clear
big and there's
water, go
pictures and
fishing
things,
for
so
their dinner. But their days
makes it
are
seem
disturbed by
longer
the
than
Blackett
it is.
sisters, the fierce
It'll
Amazon
still take us a
pirates.
while to read it, I reckon.
The
So
Swallows
Swallows
and decide to wage war,
Amazons,
and so begins
the Walker
some
Children,
unforgettable
also known as Captain
discoveries
John,
and
Mate Susan,
incredible adventures.
Able Seaman Titty, and Ship's Boy Roger set sail on the Swallow and head for Wildcat Island.
Which also makes
They camp under open skies, swim in clear water, and go fishing for their dinner. But their days are disturbed by the Blackett sisters, the fierce Amazon pirates.
It's a tough decision, isn't it?
The Swallows and Amazons decide to wage war, and so begins a summer of unforgettable discoveries and incredible adventures.
Go with your gut instinct if you're not sure. So
we've also got a bunch of quizzes and stuff in the back, which also makes it look bigger.
One of which is Christmas themed.
So there's a big little section at the back which isn't actually the story.
So it's just Child things. And the Fir Tree.
Not sure which book to go for.
Got the Twits.
It's a tough decision, isn't it? Tough decision.
And then we got Swallows.
So I'll just go over them one more time.
Which is by someone called Arthur Ransom.
And then you just got to vote for it. You just got to go with your gut instinct if you're not sure. So we got Moomins, a Moomin book, which has got 2 different Moomin stories in it. One of which is Christmas themed.
So what I'll do is
So there's the Invisible Child and the Fir Tree. And we've got the Twits by Roald Dahl.
I want you to press the like button at the bottom.
And then we got Swallows and Amazons, which is by someone called Arthur Ransom.
Which I'll press now.
Ransom? I think it's Ransom. Ooh. So those are our choices.
There it goes. Way. But you can press any of those when I say.
So what I'll do is I'll hold one up.
20 seconds for each book for you to press the like button. Okay.
If you would like that book, I want you to press the like button at the bottom, or the love, or any of those buttons.
In the
so
comments.
It could be this like one, which I'll press now,
in the comments
so you can see what happens.
If you want, because it doesn't have the thumbs thing. And on Instagram, you've got the hearts.
It floats up the screen. There it goes. Way.
It's down there somewhere.
But you can press any of those when I say the name of a book. Basically, I'm going to give 20 seconds for each book for you to press the like button. Okay? So, on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, you just got to do a thumbs up in the comments.
Like button
do a thumbs up in the comments if it's the book if you like, if you want, because it doesn't have the thumbs thing. And on Instagram, you've got the hearts button thing in the corner. I think it's down there somewhere. I think. Okay, are we ready? So, our first option is...
Sorry, the one I'm watching on, there's a delay. So
the Moomin book. So if you'd like the Moomin book,
you and then from me seeing
press
me as well.
the like button now for the Moomins.
So if it's... Anyone wants the Moomin book, press that like button.
If you want the Moomin book, press the like button. Sorry, the one I'm watching on, there's a delay, so there's a delay from me going to you and then from me seeing me as well. Oh, that's a circle.
Oh, we got quite a few for the Moomins there.
So if it's
this is to be
anyone wants
11. All right.
The Moomin book.
Next up.
Press that
make
like
sure you press the button once. If you keep pressing it, I'm going to feel like loads of people have voted it. It's not fair. Next book is The Twits.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube.
By Roald Dahl.
I'm on YouTube, Alex.
You want to hear The Twits?
Don't know why it doesn't say I am, but I am.
Like button. Nowzers.
Oh, we got quite a few for the Moomins there.
Yeah, I'm not lying, Alex. Oh, we got
this
one.
Is to be believed, about 11.
Oh,
all right.
Lloyd is pressing
Next
it a lot.
up.
I'm already pressing it once, Lloyd.
Oh, make sure you press the button once.
Some people I can see.
If you keep pressing it, I'm going to feel like loads of people have voted it. It's not fair. Next book is The Twits by Roald Dahl. The Twits by Roald Dahl. Okay. If you want to hear The Twits by Roald Dahl, press that like button.
We've got the Beast, Swallows and Amazons. Swallows and Amazons. So if you want Swallows and Amazons...
Nowzers. Yeah, I'm not lying, Alex.
Press
we got one.
the like button now. Not much love for Swallows and Amazons. A few likes coming in.
Swallows and Amazons. Swallows and Amazons.
The winner.
So if you want Swallows and Amazons...
really close, actually, between all three of them.
Press the like button
guys,
now.
I think the winner was The Twits. Seemed like the winner was the Twits to me.
Not much love for Swallows and Amazons. A few likes coming in.
This one's nice and short as well.
But I think
so
the winner...
we could probably start it today and then finish it next week. And then we can try one of the other books because it was so close.
Really close, actually, between all three of them.
Right then. Shall we...
Alright, guys, I think the winner was... the Twits.
Dahl.
It seemed like the winner was the Twits to me.
For Emma.
This one's nice and short as well, so...
Now, this first chapter...
We'll probably
could
start
be
it
about
today
me.
and then finish it next week. And then we can
Hairy
try one of the other
faces.
books, because it was so close.
What a lot of hairy-faced
Right
men
then.
there are around nowadays.
Shall we begin?
When a man grows hair all
The
over his
Twits
face, it is
by
impossible to tell
Roald
what
Dahl.
it really looks like. Perhaps that's why he does it. He'd rather you didn't know.
Emma?
Then there's the problem of washing. When the very hairy ones wash
Now,
their
this
faces,
first
it
chapter
must be
could
a
be
big
about
job
me.
as when you and I wash the hair on our heads.
Hairy
Big
faces!
job is when you and I wash the hair on our heads.
What a lot of hairy-faced men there are
3
around
PM
nowadays.
tomorrow, that's right.
When a man grows hair all over his face, it is impossible to tell what he
So I
really
want-
looks like.
What I want to know
Perhaps
is
that's why he does it.
how often do all these hairy-faced men
He'd rather
wash
you
their
didn't
faces?
know.
Is it only once a week?
Then
like
there's the
us,
problem
on
of
Sunday
washing.
nights? And do they
When the
shampoo?
very hairy ones wash
Do they
their
use a
faces,
hairdryer?
it must be a
Do they
big
rub
job
hair
as when
tonic
you
in
and
it
I
to stop
wash the
their
hair on
faces
our
from
heads.
going bald?
As big a job as when you and I wash the hair on our heads.
Do they go
3
to a
PM
barber to
tomorrow,
have
that's
their
right.
Hairy faces cut and trimmed, or do they do it themselves in front of a bathroom mirror
so I
with
want-
nail scissors?
What I want to know is this.
I don't know.
How often do all
But
these
next time you
hairy-faced
see a
men
man with
wash
a
their
hairy face,
faces?
Which we
Is it
probably
only
will,
once a week,
as
like
soon as
us,
you
on
step
Sunday
out onto the
nights?
street. Ooh,
And do they shampoo it?
read the room.
Do they
roll.
use a hairdryer? Do
Maybe
they rub
you'll
hair
look at
tonic
him
in it
more
to stop
closely
their
and
faces
start
from going
wondering about
bald?
some of these things.
Do they go to a
Mr.
barber
Twit.
to have their hairy faces cut and trimmed?
Mr. Twit.
Or do they do it themselves in front of a bathroom mirror with nail
hairy-faced
scissors?
men. The whole of his
I don't
face,
know.
except for his
But
forehead,
next time you
his
see a man
eyes,
with a
and
his
his
face,
nose was
which
covered
we
with
probably
thick
will
hair.
be as soon as
The
you
stuff
step out
even
on the
sprouted in
street,
revolting
ooh,
tufts out of his nostrils and
read
his
the
ears.
room rolled.
Mr.
Maybe
Twit
you will
felt
look
that
at
his
him
hairiness
more
made
closely
him look
and
terrifically
start
wise
wondering
and
about
grand.
some of these things.
But in truth, he was neither of these things. Mr. Twit
Mr.
was a
Twit.
twit.
Mr. Twit was one
He
of
was
these
born
very
Now,
hairy-faced
at
men.
the age of
The whole of
60,
his face,
he was
except
a
for his
bigger
forehead,
twit than
his
ever.
eyes, and his nose, was covered
The hair on
with thick
Mr.
hair.
Twit's face didn't
The
grow
stuff
smooth.
even sprouted in
matted
revolting
as it
tufts
does
out
on
of his
those
nostrils
hairy
and his ears.
It grew in spikes that
Mr.
stuck
Twit
out
felt
straight
that
like
his
bristles
hairiness made him
on
look
nails.
terrifically wise and
And how
grand.
often did Mr. Twit
But in
wash
truth,
the
he was
bristly
neither of
nail
these
brushing
things.
face of his?
Mr. Twit
Answer
was a
is
twit.
Never. Not even.
He was
on
born a twit,
Sundays.
and now, at the age of
He hadn't
60,
washed it
he was a
for
bigger twit
years.
than ever.
See, mine doesn't grow like that.
The hair on
It's
Mr.
sweet.
Twit's
What?
face didn't grow smooth and matted as it does on most hairy-faced men. It
Dirty
grew in
beard.
spikes that stuck out straight like
As
the
you
bristles
know,
of a nail
An
brush.
ordinary,
And how often did
like
Mr.
yours
Twit
or mine
wash
simply
his
gets a
this
bit
bristly
smudgy
nail
and
brushy
not
face of
washed
his?
often enough.
The
And there's
answer
nothing
is
so awful about that.
never. Not even
But a
on
hairy face
Sundays.
is a very different matter.
He hadn't
Things
washed
cling
it
to your
for
hairs.
years. See, mine doesn't grow like that. Mine's smooth
Especially
and glossy.
Food.
The boy.
Things like
Dirty
gravy
beards.
go right in among the hairs and
As you know, an ordinary
You and I can
unhairy
wipe our
face like
smooth
yours
faces
or
with
mine
flannel.
simply gets
We
a bit
quickly look
smudgy
more
if
or
it is
less
not
all
washed
right
often
again.
enough.
But the
And
hairy
there's
man
nothing so
cannot
awful
do.
about that.
Storing it for later.
But a hairy face is a very different matter.
Ugh.
Things
can also
cling to your
Be
hairs.
careful. Eat our meals without spreading food all over our faces.
Especially
But not so
food.
the hairy man. Watch carefully next time you see a hairy man eating
things
his
like
lunch,
gravy
and you'll
go
notice
right in among the hairs
that
and stay
even
there.
if he opens his mouth
You and I
wide,
can wipe
it's
our
impossible
smooth
for him
faces
to
with a
get
flannel,
spoonful of
and we
beef
quickly
stew
look
or
more or
ice
less
cream
all
with
right
chocolate
again.
sauce
But the
into
hairy
it
men
without
cannot
leaving
do
some
that.
of it on the hairs.
Storing
I
it for
find
later,
all terribly
guys.
offensive.
Cool.
This
We
hairy
can
faced
also,
man.
if we are careful, eat our meals without spreading food all over our
Mr. Twit
faces.
didn't even bother
But
to
not
open
so
his
the
mouth
hairy
wide
man.
when he ate.
Watch carefully
As a
next
result,
time you see a hairy man eating his lunch, and you will
There were
notice
hundreds of bits
that
of old
even if he
bread
opens his mouth
and
very
luncheon
wide,
supper
it is impossible for him to
sticking
get
to
a
the
spoonful
hairs
of
around
beef
his
stew
face.
or ice cream and chocolate sauce
They weren't big
into
bits,
it
mind
without
you,
leaving some of it
because he
on
used
the
to wipe those
hairs. I'm
off
finding
with
this
the back
all
of his
terribly
hand or on his
offensive.
sleeve while he was eating.
All this
But if you look
hairy-faced man
closely,
bashing.
Ever want to. You would see
Mr. Twit didn't even bother to open his mouth wide when he ate. As a result, and because he never washed, there was always hundreds of bits of old breakfast and lunches and supper sticking to the hairs around his face.
His old mouth, Mr. Twit.
They weren't big bits, mind you, because he used to wipe those off with the back of his hand or on his sleeve while he was eating. But if you look closely, not that you'd ever want to, you would see tiny little specks of dried up scrambled eggs stuck to the hairs. And spinach and tomato ketchup and fish fingers and minced chicken livers and all the other disgusting things Mr. Twit likes to eat. Here he is, stuffing his old mouth, Mr. Twit.
Mr. Twit's beard.
He loves it. I have got the email, Jacob. Like I said, I haven't been replying over the last day. So I've been knee-deep in video editing.
Sticking out over his upper lip, you would probably see much larger.
Oh, here's another picture. There's a second picture. And you can see a good close-up.
Been there for months and months, like a piece of maggoty.
What's going down?
Green cheese, or
Mr.
a
Twit's
moldy
beard.
old cornflake, or even the slimy tail of a tinned sardine.
If you looked closer still, hold your noses, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Twit,
if you peered deep into the moustachy bristles sticking out over his upper lip, you would probably see much larger objects that had escaped the wipe of his hand, things that had been there for months and months, like a piece of maggoty green cheese, or a mouldy old cornflake, or even the slimy tail of a tinned sardine. That's what we saw in the picture.
What I am trying to tell
because of all this, Mr. Twit never really went hungry. By sticking out his tongue and curling it sideways to explore the hairy jungle around his mouth, he was always able to find a tasty morsel here and there to nibble on it.
Mrs. Twit was no better than her husband. She did not, of course, have a hairy face.
Ooh.
It was a pity that she
Chocolate
did
brownie.
that. Because at any rate...
What I am trying to tell you is that Mr. Twit was a foul and smelly old man. He was also an extremely horrid old man, as we'll find out in a moment. Mrs. Twit.
Have you ever seen a woman?
Mrs. Twit was no better than her husband. She did not, of course, have a hairy face.
But the funny thing is that Mrs.
It was a pity that she didn't.
She had quite a nice face.
Because at any rate, she would have hidden some of her fearful ugliness. Take a look at her.
Why would that happen? I'll tell you why. If a person has ugly thoughts, it begins to show on the face. And when that person has ugly thoughts every day, every week, every year, the face gets uglier.
Have you ever seen a woman with an uglier face than that? I doubt it. But the funny thing is that Mrs. Twit wasn't born ugly. She had quite a nice face when she was young. The ugliness had grown upon her year by year as she got older. Why would that happen? I'll tell you why. If a person has ugly thoughts, it begins to show on the face. And when that person has ugly thoughts every day, every week, every year, the face gets uglier and uglier until it gets so ugly you can hardly bear to look at it. A person who has good thoughts can never be ugly. You can have a wonky nose and a crooked mouth and a double chin and stick-out teeth, but if you have good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams, and you will always look lovely.
But the real reason she carried a stick was so that she could hit
lovely thoughts
like dogs and cats and small children. And then there was the glass eye. Mrs. Twit had a glass eye that was always looking the other way.
Nothing shone out of Mrs. Twit's face.
The glass eye.
In her right hand, she carried a walking stick.
A lot of tricks
she used to tell people that this was because she had warts growing on the sole of her left foot, and walking was painful. But the real reason she carried a stick was so that she could hit things with it, like dogs and cats and small children.
Dropped it into Mr. Twit's mug of beer.
And then there was the glass eye. Mrs. Twit had a glass eye that was always looking
made a
the
white
other
ring
way.
on the hairs around his mouth. He wiped the froth onto his sleeve and wiped his sleeve.
You can play a lot of tricks with a glass eye because you can take it out and pop it back in again anytime you like. You can bet your life Mrs. Twit knew all the tricks. One morning, she took out her glass eye and dropped it into Mr. Twit's mug of beer when he wasn't looking. Mr. Twit sat there drinking the beer slowly. The froth made a white ring on the hairs around his mouth. He wiped the froth onto his sleeve and wiped the sleeve on his trousers. "You're plotting something," said Mrs. Twit, keeping her back turned so he wouldn't see that she had taken out her glass eye. "Whenever you go all quiet like that, I know very well you're plotting something."
Because when I see you start to
Mrs. Twit was right. Mr. Twit was plotting away like mad. He was trying to think up a really nasty trick he could play on his wife that day.
Mr. Twit said.
He went on drinking his beer,
and his evil mind kept working away on the latest horrid trick he was going to play on the old woman. Suddenly, Mr. Twit tipped the last drop of beer down his throat. "You better be careful," Mrs. Twit said,
"because when I see you start to plot, I watch you like a wombat."
"I told you I was watching you."
"Oh, do shut up, you old hag," Mr. Twit said. He went on drinking his beer, and his evil mind kept working away on the latest horrid trick he was going to play on the old woman. Suddenly, as Mr. Twit tipped the last drop of beer down his throat, he caught sight of Mrs. Twit's awful glass eyes staring up at him from the bottom of the mug. It made him jump. "I told you I was watching you," cackled Mrs. Twit. "I've got eyes everywhere, so you'd better be careful."
Mrs. Twit
the frog
climbed into her bed and put out
to pay her back for the glass eye in his beer. Mr. Twit decided he would put a frog in Mrs. Twit's bed.
Old hags like
he caught a big one down by the pond and carried it back secretly in a box. That night, when Mrs. Twit was in the bathroom getting ready for bed, Mr. Twit slipped the frog between her sheets. Then he got into his own bed and waited for the fun to begin.
"What's the matter with you?" Mr. Twit said.
Mrs. Twit came back and climbed into her bed and put out the light. She lay there in the dark, scratching her tummy. Her tummy was itching. Dirty old hags like her always had itchy tummies.
"I saw on the floor just now," Mr. Twit
Then, all at once, she felt something cold and slimy crawling all over her feet. She screamed.
Mr. Twit said.
"What's the matter with you?" Mr. Twit said. "Help!" screamed Mrs. Twit, bouncing about. "There's something in more bed!"
"Save me! It's all over more feet!"
"I bet it's that giant skinny wiggler I saw on the floor just now," Mr. Twit said.
Mr. Twit got out of bed.
"Oh, what?" screamed Mrs. Twit. "I tried to kill it, but it got away!"
Mrs. Twit's head to
Mr. Twit said. "It's got teeth like screwdrivers."
It started jumping about.
"Help!"
Frogs love water.
screamed Mrs. Twit. "Save me! It's all over more feet!" "It'll bite your toes off," said Mr. Twit. Mrs. Twit fainted. Mr. Twit got out of bed and fetched a jug of cold water. He poured it over Mrs. Twit's head to revive her. The frog crawled up from the sheets to get near the water. It started jumping about on the pillow. Frogs love water. This one was having a great time.
There's the frog on her face.
Here's a picture. There's a picture.
"By golly, it is a giant
frog
skinny
bouncing
wiggler."
around. Hey, Jessel.
"It'll bite off your nose."
When Mrs. Twit came to, the frog had just jumped onto her face. This is not a nice thing to happen to anyone in bed at night. She screamed again. "Ah!" There's the frog on her face.
The wormy spaghetti.
"By golly, it is a giant skinny wiggler," Mr. Twit said. "It'll bite off your nose." Mrs. Twit leapt out of bed and flew downstairs and spent the night on the sofa. The frog went to sleep on her pillow.
Under her apron. At 1 o'clock, she cooked spaghetti for lunch, and she mixed the worms in with the spaghetti, but only on her husband.
The wormy spaghetti.
The worms didn't show because
the next day, to pay Mr. Twit back for the frog trick, Mrs. Twit sneaked out into the garden and dug up some worms. She chose big, long ones and put them in a tin and carried the tin back to the house under her apron.
in it with his fork.
At 1 o'clock, she cooked spaghetti for lunch, and she mixed the worms in with the spaghetti, but only on her husband's plate. The worms didn't show because everything was covered in tomato sauce and sprinkled with cheese.
Mr. Twit started eating, twisting the long tomato-covered strings around his fork and shoving them into his mouth.
Hey, my spaghetti's moving!
There was
cried Mr. Twit, poking around in it with his fork. It's a new kind, Mrs. Twit said, taking a mouthful of her own plate, which of course had no worms. It's called squiggly spaghetti. It's delicious. Eat it up while it's nice and hot.
She was watching from the
Mr. Twit started eating, twisting the long tomato-covered strings around his fork and shoving them into his mouth.
I find it rather bitter.
Soon, there was tomato sauce all over his hairy chin.
Buy the other kind next
It's not as good as the ordinary kind, he said,
Mrs. Twit
talking with his mouth full.
It's
too squishy.
Then she said,
I find it very tasty, Mrs. Twit said. She was watching from the other end of the table.
Mr. Twit
it gave her great pleasure to watch him eating worms.
With a corner of the tablecloth.
I find it rather bitter, Mr. Twit said. It's got a distinctly bitter flavour.
Why?
Buy the other kind next time.
Because it was worms, cried Mrs. Twit.
Mrs. Twit waited until Mr. Twit had eaten the whole plateful.
Rocking with horrible
Then she said,
laughter.
You want to know why your spaghetti was so squishy? Mr. Twit wiped the tomato sauce from his beard with a corner of the tablecloth.
The funny walking stick.
Why? He said.
To pay Mrs. Twit back for the worms.
And why it had that bitter taste?
Really
why? He said.
Nasty.
Because it was worms! cried Mrs. Twit, clapping her hands and stamping her feet on the floor, rocking with horrible laughter.
Tiny round piece of wood. Off the stick.
The funny walking stick.
This made the
to pay Mrs. Twit back for the worms in his spaghetti, Mr. Twit thought up a really clever, nasty trick.
The following night, Mr. Twit
One night, when the old woman was asleep, he crept out of bed and took her walking stick downstairs to his work shed. There he stuck a tiny round piece of wood, no thicker than a penny, onto the bottom of the stick.
Gradually, but oh so gradually,
this made the stick longer, but the difference was so small, the next morning Mrs. Twit didn't notice it.
Growing very slowly,
the following night, Mr. Twit stuck on another tiny bit of wood. Every night, he crept downstairs and added an extra tiny thickness of wood to the end of the walking stick. He did it very neatly so that the extra bits looked like a part of the old stick.
It was the same with Mrs. Twit's
gradually, but oh so gradually, Mrs. Twit's walking stick was getting longer and longer. Now, when something is growing very slowly, it is almost impossible to notice it happening. You yourself, for example, are actually growing taller every day that goes by, but you wouldn't think it, would you? It's happening so slowly, you can't even notice it from 1 week to the next. It was the same with Mrs. Twit's walking stick. It was all so slow and gradual that she didn't notice how long it was getting, even when it was halfway up to her shoulder.
Mrs. Twit said, staring at her old walking stick.
That stick's too long for you, Mr. Twit said to her one day. Why, so it is, Mrs. Twit said, looking at the stick. I've had a feeling there was something wrong, but I couldn't for the life of me think what it was.
Dead wood can't grow.
There's something wrong, all right, said Mr. Twit.
What on earth happened?
Beginning to enjoy himself.
Twit.
What can have happened? Mrs. Twit said,
you,
staring at her old
Twit,
walking stick.
Grinning horribly.
It suddenly must have grown longer.
I've been noticing it for some time.
Don't be a fool, Mr. Twit said. How can a walking stick possibly grow longer? It's made of dead wood, isn't it?
Said Mr. Twit.
Dead wood can't grow. Then what on earth happened? cried Mrs. Twit.
You're shrinking fast.
It's not the stick. It's you, said Mr. Twit, grinning horribly.
You must have shrunk
it's you that's getting shorter.
Never.
I've been noticing it for some time now.
Of course you have.
That's not true, cried Mrs. Twit. You're shrinking, woman, said Mr. Twit. It's not possible.
That's what you've got.
Oh, yes, it jolly well is, said Mr. Twit.
Mrs. Twit
You're
began to
shrinking
feel so
fast.
trembly she had to sit
You're
down.
shrinking dangerously fast. Why, you must have shrunk at least a foot in the last few
As
days.
soon as Mrs. Twit had
Never! She
Mr. Twit
cried.
pointed at her and shouted,
Of course
"There
you
you
have.
are.
Take a
You're
look
sitting
at
in
your
your
stick,
chair,
you old
and you've
goat.
shrunk so much your feet
And see
aren't
how
even
much you've
touching the
shrunk in
ground."
comparison. You've
Mrs.
got
Twit
the
looked down at
shrinks.
her feet, and
That's
by
what
golly, the
you've
man was
got.
right.
You've got
Her
the
feet were
dreaded
not touching the
shrinks.
ground.
Mrs. Twit began to feel
Mr.
so
Twit,
trembly
you see,
she had to
had
sit
been just
down.
as clever with the chair as he had been with the walking stick.
Mrs. Twit
Every
has
night
the
when he had
shrinks.
gone downstairs and stuck
As
a
soon as
little bit
Mrs.
extra
Twit
on
had
the
sat
sticks,
down,
he had done
Mr.
the
Twit
same
pointed
to
at her and
the
shouted,
four legs of Mr.
"There you are! You're sitting in your old chair and you shrunk so much your feet aren't
Just
even
as
touching
you
the
sit there in
ground."
your same old chair,
Mrs.
he
Twit
cried.
looked down at
And
her
you
feet
shrunk
and
so
by golly
much
the man
your
was
feet
right.
are
Her
dangling
feet
in
were
the
not
air.
touching the ground.
Mrs. Twit.
Mr.
went
Twit,
wild
you see,
with fear.
had been just
"You've
as clever
got
with the
the
chair
shrinks,"
as he had been
cried Mr.
with the
Twit,
walking stick.
pointing his finger at her.
Every
like a
night
pistol.
when he had gone downstairs
them
and stuck a little
badly.
bit extra on the
You've
sticks,
got the
he had
most
done the same
terrible
to the
case
four
of
legs of
shrinks
Mr.
I've
Twit's
ever
chair.
seen. Mrs. Twit became
Just
so
to look
frightened
at you
she began
sitting
to
there
look
in your same old
Mr.
chair,
Twit,
he
still
cried.
remembering the words
And you've
Mrs.
shrunk
Twit
so
didn't
much,
feel
your
sorry for
feet
her
are
at
dangling
all.
in the air.
I
Mrs.
suppose
Twit
you
went
know what
white
happens
with fear.
to you
You've got
when
the
you
shrinks, cried
he
Mr.
said.
Twit, pointing his finger at her like a pistol.
What?
You've
That
got
Mrs.
them
Twit.
badly.
What happened?
You've got the most terrible case of shrinks
Your head
I've
shrinks
ever
into your
seen.
neck, and your neck shrinks
Mrs.
into
Twit
your
became
body,
so frightened
and
she
your
began to
body
dribble.
shrinks into
But
your
Mr. Twit,
legs,
still
and
remembering
your
the
legs
words
shrink
in his
into your
spaghetti, didn't
feet.
feel sorry for her at all.
And in the end, there's nothing left except a pair
I
of
suppose
old
you
shoes
know
and
what
a bundle
happens
of
to
old
you
clothes.
when you get the shrinks, he said.
I can't bear
What?
it, cried
gasped
Mrs.
Mrs.
Twit.
Twit. What
Disease,
happens?
said Mr. Twit. The worst
Your
in
head
the
shrinks
world.
into your neck, and your neck
Have I
shrinks
got
into
long?
your body,
cried Mrs.
and
Twit.
your body
How
shrinks
long
into
before
your
I finish
legs,
up with a
and
bundle
your
of
legs
old
shrink into
clothes
your
and a pair of
feet.
shoes?
And in the end, there's nothing left except a
Twit
pair of
found a
old
very sorry
shoes
face.
and a bundle of old
Right, you're
clothes.
going, he said, shaking his head sadly.
I can't bear
I've
it!
got no
cried
more
Mrs.
than
Twit.
10 or 11
It's a
days.
terrible disease, said Mr. Twit. The worst in the world.
But isn't there anything
Have I got
we
long?
can do?
cried Mrs. Twit. How long before I finish up as a bundle of old clothes and a
Only
pair
one
of
bell for the
shoes?
shrinks, said Mr. Twit.
Mr. Twit put on a very solemn
Tell
face.
me, she
At
cried.
the rate
Oh,
you're
tell me
going,
quickly.
he said, shaking his head sadly.
We'll have to hurry.
I'd say you've got
Mr.
no
Twit.
more than 10 or
I'm
11
ready.
days.
I'll hurry. I'll do anything you say, cried Mrs. Twit.
But isn't there
Won't last
anything
long
we
if you
can
don't, said
do?
Mr. Twit,
cried
giving her
Mrs.
another
Twit.
grisly grin.
There's
What
only
is it I
one
must
cure
do?
for the shrinks,
cried Mrs.
said
Twit.
Mr. Twit.
What is it I must do?
Tell me, she cried.
Mrs. Twit.
Oh, tell me quickly!
You've got to be stretched.
We'll have to hurry, said Mr.
said
Twit.
Mr. Twit.
I'm ready! I'll hurry! I'll do anything you
For
say!
her life.
cried Mrs. Twit. You won't last for long if you don't, said Mr. Twit, giving her another grisly grin. What is it I must do? cried Mrs. Twit. What is it I must do?
Twit
said
extra
cried Mrs.
stretching.
Twit, clutching at her cheeks.
Mr. Twit
You've got to be
led Mrs. Twit
stretched,
outdoors where he had everything ready
said
for
Mr.
the great
Twit.
stretching. He had
She is
100 balloons and
panicking
lots of string.
for her
He had a
life.
gas cylinder for filling the balloons. He had fixed an iron ring into the ground. Stand here, he said, pointing to the iron ring, and then he tied Mrs. Twit's ankles to the iron ring. When that was
Mrs.
done,
Twit
he began filling the
gets a
balloons with
stretching.
gas. Each balloon was on a long
Mr. Twit
string.
led
When it
Mrs.
filled
Twit
up with gas,
outdoors where he had
pulled
everything
on
ready for the
its
great
string,
stretching.
trying to go
He had
up.
100 balloons and lots of string.
Mr. Twit tied
He had
the
a
ends of
gas
the strings to
cylinder
the top half
for
of
filling
Mrs.
the
Twit's
balloons.
body.
He had fixed an
He had tied
iron
some
ring
round
into
her
the
neck,
ground.
some under her arms,
Stand
some
here,
to her wrists,
he
and
said,
even some
pointing
to her hair.
to the iron ring.
Soon,
And then he tied
they were
Mrs. Twit's
covered-
ankles to the iron ring.
There were 50
When that was
coloured
done, he
balloons
began
floating
filling the
in
balloons
air
with gas.
above Mrs. Twit's
Each
head.
balloon was on a long string, and when it filled up with gas, it
Can you
pulled
feel
on
him stretching
its
you?
string, trying to
asked
go
Mr.
up
Twit.
and
I
up.
can!
Mr.
I
Twit tied the
can!
ends of the
cried
strings
Mrs.
to the
Twit.
top half
They're
of Mrs.
stretching
Twit's
me
body.
like mad!
She had tied some round her neck, some under her arms, some to her wrists, and even some to her hair.
Very strong.
Soon, they were covered. There were 50 coloured balloons floating in the air above Mrs. Twit's head. "Can you feel them stretching you?" asked Mr. Twit. "I can! I can!" cried Mrs. Twit. "They're stretching me like mad!"
Pulled upward by the balloons.
He put on another 10 balloons. The upwards pull became very strong. Mrs. Twit was quite helpless now.
For a couple of days and nights to teach her a lesson. In fact, she was just
There's
about
Mrs.
to
Twit
leave
with the balloons on her.
when Mrs. Twit opened her big mouth and said something silly. "Are you sure my feet
With
are
her
tied
feet.
properly to the ground?" she gasped. "If those strings
Tied to the
around my
ground, her
ankles
arms pulled
it'll be
upward by the
goodbye for
balloons,
me."
she was unable to
That's what
move.
gave Mr. Twit
She was a prisoner,
his
and Mr.
second
Twit had intended to go away and leave her like that for a couple of days
Mrs.
and
Twit
nights to
goes
teach her a
ballooning up.
lesson. In fact, he was just about to leave when
"There's
Mrs.
enough pull
Twit
here to
opened
take me
her
to
big
the
mouth
moon!"
and said something
Mrs.
silly.
Twit cried out. "To take you to the moon?"
"Are you sure my
Mr.
feet are
Twit.
tied properly to
"What
the
a
ground?"
ghastly fall.
she gasped.
"We wouldn't want anything
"If those
like
strings
that
round
to
my
happen."
ankles
"Oh,
break,
dear
it'll be
me."
goodbye for me!" And that's what gave
Lots
Mr.
of
Twit
pictures in this book, right?
his second
TT.
nasty idea. Mrs. Twit goes ballooning
"We
up.
most certainly wouldn't," cried Mrs. Twit.
"There's enough pull here to take me to the moon!"
"I want
Mrs.
to feel
Twit cried out.
absolutely safe."
"To take you to the
"Very well,
moon!"
my
exclaimed
angel,"
Mr. Twit.
said Mr. Twit.
"What a ghastly fall!
And with a
We wouldn't
ghoulish
want
grin
anything
on
like
his
that
lips,
to
he
happen.
knelt down at
Oh
her feet,
dear
took
me,
a knife from his
no!"
pocket, and with one quick slash,
Lots of pictures
cut
in this
through
book,
the strings
right?
holding Mrs.
Katie.
Twit's ankles to the iron rung. She went up like
"We
a
most
rocket.
certainly wouldn't!" cried Mrs. Twit.
She screamed.
"Put some more string round my ankles,
There
quickly!
was no saving
I want
her
to feel
now. In a
absolutely
few seconds, she
safe!"
was high up in the blue
"Very
sky,
well, my angel,"
climbing
said
fast.
Mr. Twit.
Mr. Twit stood below
And with a
looking
ghoulish
up.
grin on his lips, he knelt
"What a
down at her
pretty
feet.
sight,"
He
he
took
said
a
to
knife
himself.
from his pocket,
"How
and
lovely,
with
all those
one
balloons
quick
looking in the
slash,
sky.
he cut
What
through
a
the
marvellous
strings
bit of
holding
luck for
Mrs.
me.
Tweet's ankles to the iron rung.
At long last, the old
She went
hag
up
gone
like a
forever."
rocket. "Help!" she screamed.
Mrs. Twit
"Save
down.
me!" But there was no saving her now.
Mrs.
In a
Twit may
few
have been
seconds,
ugly,
she was high
she
up
may
in the
be
blue
beefy,
sky
but she
and
was not
climbing fast.
stupid.
Mr.
High
Twit
up
stood
in the
below,
sky,
looking up.
She had a bright idea.
"What a pretty
"I could
sight,"
get
he
rid of
said to
some of these
himself.
balloons,"
"How lovely all
she
those
said to
balloons
herself.
look in the
"I will
sky.
stop going
What a
up
marvellous bit of
Stop
luck for
coming
me.
down."
At long last, the old hag is gone forever." Mrs. Twit comes ballooning down. Mrs. Twit may have been ugly, and she may have been
She
beastly,
began biting
but
through
she
the
was
strings
not
that
stupid.
held
High up in the sky,
balloons
she
to
had a
her
bright
wrists and
idea.
arms. And
"Well, I
neck.
could get rid
and
of some
head.
of these
Each time
balloons,"
she
she
bit
said
through
to
a string
herself.
and
"I
let
will
the
stop
balloon float
going up
away. The
and
upper
start
pull
to
got
come
less, and
down."
her rate of climb slowed down. When she had bitten through 20 strings, she stopped going up altogether. She stayed still in the air. She bit through one more string.
She began
Very,
biting
very
through the strings
slowly.
that
She
held
began to float downwards.
the
was a
balloons to
calm
her
day.
wrists
There was
and
no
arms
wind at all.
and neck
And because
and
of
hair.
this, Mrs.
Each
Twit
time
went
she bit through a
absolutely
string
straight
and
up.
let the balloon float
She now
away,
began
the
to
upper
come
pull got less
absolutely
and her rate
straight
of climb
down.
slowed down. When she had
As she
bitten
floated
through
gently
20
down,
strings,
Mrs. Twit's
she
petticoat
stopped
billowed out
going
like a
up
parachute,
altogether.
showing
She
her
stayed
long
still
knickers.
in the air. She
It was a
bit
grand
through
sight
one
and
more
a
string.
glorious day.
Very,
Thousands of
very
birds came
slowly,
flying in
she
from miles
began to
around the
float
stairs.
downwards.
Extraordinary.
It was a
All
calm
women
day.
in the
There was
sky.
no wind at all. And because of this, Mrs. Twit had
was a
gone
horrid
absolutely straight up.
Mr. Twit,
She now
who
began
had
to
thought
come
he'd seen his ugly
absolutely
wife for the
straight
last time, was
down.
sitting in the garden, celebrating with a mug
As she
of
floated
beer.
gently down,
Silently,
Mrs. Twit's petticoat
Mrs. Twit came
billowed
floating
out like a
down.
parachute,
When she was
showing
about
her
the
long
height
knickers.
of the house above Mr. Twit,
It was a
she
grand
suddenly
sight and a
called
glorious
out from the
day.
top of her
Thousands of birds came
"Here
flying
I
in from
come,
miles
you
around to
grizzly
stare at
old
this
grunion!
extraordinary
You
old
rotten
woman
old
in the
turnip!
sky.
You filthy old frumpet!
Mr. Twit gets a
Mr.
horrid
Twit
shock.
jumped as though he'd been stung
Mr.
by a
Twit,
giant wasp.
who had thought he'd
He
seen
dropped
his
his beer
ugly wife
and
for the
looked
last time, was sitting in the garden, celebrating
gasped.
with a mug of
He
beer.
gasped.
Silently,
gurgled.
Mrs.
Choking
Twit came
sound came out
floating
of his
down.
mouth.
When she was about the height of the house above Mr. Twit, she suddenly
Ouch!
called out
He
from the
said.
top of her voice,
I'll get you!
"Here I
shouted
come,
Mrs.
you
Twit.
grizzly old
floating
You
down
rotten
right
old
on top
turnip!
of him.
You
She was
filthy
purple
old
with
frumpet!
rage, slashing the air with her
Mr.
long
Twit
walking
jumped
stick,
as though he'd
while
been
she
stung by a
somehow
giant
managed
wasp.
to hang on
He
all
dropped
the
his
time.
beer. He looked
I'll
up.
swish you to a swazzle!
He
she
gasped.
shouted. I'll
He
swish
gasped.
you to a swizzle!
He gurgled.
I'll mash
A
you to
choking
nozzle!
sound came out of his mouth.
I'll mash you to a
Oh! Ah! Ouch! He said. I'll get you for this! Shouted Mrs. Twit. She was floating down right on top of him. She was purple with rage and slashing the air with her long walking stick, while she had somehow managed to hang on all the time.
Today.
I'll swish you to a swazzle! She shouted. I'll swash you to a swizzle! I'll nash you to a nozzle! I'll nosh you to a nozzle! And before Mr. Twit had time to run away, this bundle of balloons and petticoats and fiery fury landed right on top of him, lashing out with the stick and cracking him all over his body.
I still don't know about that name, but there we go.
And we're going to leave it there today.
So yes,
Woo!
if
And we're going
you want to join
to learn more about the monkeys when we read about it next week.
Send me an email, Jack.
We are pretty much halfway through.
And I'll be sending out the links tomorrow. If you've asked me for the link today,
great. So yes, I shall see you all tomorrow for our
choir
big camp in Talthead show. I still don't know about that name, but there we go.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much.
So yes, if
no live streams on
you want to join in with the talent show on Zoom tomorrow, send me an email, jack@yellowsubmarine.org.uk, and I'll be sending out the links tomorrow. If you've asked me for the link today, you're going to get it tomorrow.
So if we can get a couple more,
focused
that'd be
on
great.
our
choir.
So tomorrow we're also going to see our choir video.
Thursday. You can get those to me sometime between now and tomorrow. That'd be extra great, so that way I don't have to use that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all the news we need. And remember, no live streams on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday this week. What I do need, though, is you all teaching how to do a certain exercise. I've had one from Jacob so far, so if we can get a couple more, that'd be great. So then you have still have a workout to follow along with on Thursday. If you could get those to me sometime between now and tomorrow, that'd be extra great, so that way I don't have to use up a little bit of my day off just to... It'll only take me 10 minutes to put them together, but still. It'd be nice if I didn't have to do that. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your cloudy, windy Sunday, and I'll see you all tomorrow. And forget, if you have any questions at all, send me a message or an email. Alright? Keep it real, you crazy party animals.